This is Brad here at TrueFire, bringing you TrueFire live from our studios. We have Mike Zito in the house. Keep playing, Mike. That just sounded great, man. We're very, very excited about this broadcast for many reasons. It's been, almost 2 years now since we've had Mike back here. He's been traveling all over the world. He's recently, I think a month ago, won Best Blues Rock Artist of the Year, a BMA, which is big, big, big. He was on the Howard Stern show last week. We all love Howard Stern. And his new album went #1 with a bullet the first week out on the Blues Billboard chart. So, Mike, for many of you who are tuning in, I hope you've picked up his first TrueFire course, Americana Blues. He blew our mind with that course, and we've been really, really anxious to get him back. Mike, welcome back, man, to TrueFire. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm just noodling away over here like I've been doing since I was 8 years old.
So you're back doing 2 new courses. We'll talk about them in a minute.
Yeah.
But, tell me a little bit about that BMA award. That must have been just huge. When did you hear that you actually won Best Blues Rock Artist of the Year, for God's sake?
It was very surreal, and thank you very much for the accolades and the nods. And it's really great to be back at TrueFire. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy it. It was back in May in Memphis, where the yearly they do the Blues Music Awards. It's our genre's version of the Grammys or the Country Music Awards. And I'll tell you, I never ever have been fortunate enough to. I have won a Blues Music Award before. I was not there or present at the winning. Mm-hmm. This is the first time I was actually in the room when it happened.
You won that in 2009, I think.
That's right. It was for a song called Pearl River that I wrote with Cyril Neville. Mm-hmm. And I was out of the country, and Cyril accepted the award for us, which was great. I almost said accepted the reward. That would be good too, actually.
Well, it is a reward, isn't it? For
it is
many years of hard work, man.
But I never ever, think, oh, I'm going to win. Hey, I need to win this. All right, I deserve this. I mean, it's never. In fact, I look and I see, okay, so rock blues or blues rock, whatever is actually titled. It's probably the hardest category because it's the crossover category. So just getting named with Walter Trout or Eric Gales or Warren Haynes or Kenny Wayne Shepherd or Tedeschi Trucks, Joe Bonamassa. These are people that I'm usually up against. Uh-huh. So I always think, well, you don't stand a chance. But isn't it nice to see your name next to all these people that you love?
Big time, yeah.
So it was quite unbelievable to me.
But you're there, right?
Yeah.
You're up against all these other incredible artists. And I mean, you don't know whether your name,
no.
They don't hip you like,
Not at all. Not one bit.
It's a complete surprise.
Have no idea. It never occurred to me. In fact, when they're getting to that category, there was 2 categories I had been nominated in, one for an album and one for the artist. So when they're getting to this category, it was Tony Joe White, who's great, wrote Polk Salad Annie, was walking up to give the award away. And the only thing I thought was, wow, 20 years ago, I played a wedding reception in San Jose, California, and I opened up for Tony Joe White.
Really?
At somebody's wedding reception.
Wow.
That was what I thought, and I was telling my wife, like, that is crazy, isn't it? And he took a really long time to read the card, and he even, I don't know if he was being funny or just, older, but he said, and the winner is open envelope. I am not kidding. And we all had a big laugh, and then he said, Mark, it seemed like Zito, like really long, and I'm at a table with the people from my Roof Records, Thomas Roof, and people from my record label, my wife, and they kind of were all, I was moving slow, and they all jumped up and were screaming and clapping, and it was a really long walk, And
so is your heart going a mile a minute now? I mean,
No, more like everything slowed really down. Like
So
I'm
it's
really
like
grateful for it.
surreal, like
yeah,
a
yeah.
dream-like sequence, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it was like like dream sequence, walking through the crowd. I'm just shaking my head like, is this really? Am I doing this? You know, there's little Steven Van Zant's on stage, Tony Joe White, and yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I never would have ever expected anything like it, and it's been great. It seems to me like it's a great responsibility, like I need to live up to.
Well, from our perspective, we were thrilled when we heard the news ourselves, but can't tell you that we were surprised. I mean, you're anybody that knows Mike, you're a very humble guy,
Thanks.
But you're so deserving of that recognition. You're a great player. You're a hard-working road warrior in every sense of the word. I mean, would you say you've paid your dues over the years, man? Huh?
I think about like 10 or 12 years ago, and I'm like, I don't think I could do that again. It was way too hard. But at the time, I didn't know it,
Yeah.
Now things are so much easier, even though, again, we do work hard.
Yeah.
But I'm doing everything. I'm getting to do the work I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think, could I do that again? I don't know. Can I sleep on the floor?
Yeah.
While the guys all cram into one hotel room?
Yeah.
And I don't know. But I was younger. So
yeah. Meanwhile, and not only did you win that award, but your album hit #1 on the Blues Billboard charts. I mean, that's pretty huge, right?
That's pretty huge.
First Class Life is the name of the album. I can't help. I've listened to it. I've got it running full time in my car, coming and going. I love Back Problems. That's my favorite track off that album right now. I can't help but to urge everybody out there to buy this album.
Thank you.
Don't stream it. Don't Spotify it. Don't download it. Just go out and buy the album and support the cause, kind of a thing. Tell us a little bit about that album. In particular, how you recorded it, because the sonic quality is just, it's so real.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Thank you.
Tell us about that.
Well, I've been, this is my 15th album that I've made in 20 years. And very, proud of that. And ironically, going all the way back to being a kid in high school, where, I was trying to write songs and play guitar. I would rent like a 4-track recorder from the music store. And this is, 1985, 1986. I'd rent a 4-track recorder and a drum machine. And I was determined to learn how to, I'd put a drum beat in and I'm going to play these chords and try to make this song. I wanted to do that. So I've been doing that since before I was still learning to play the guitar, So all these years later of making records, I've been fortunate enough to build a recording studio. My wife built a recording studio behind on my property in Texas. And because I've been doing producing and production work for the past 8 years for Roof Records, which is the label I work with. And so last summer we built this recording studio. And so this is the first album of mine that has been released that was recorded at my recording. So it's called Mars Studios, which is my full Catholic initials, M-A-R-Z there.
Okay, well, you're going to have to now tell us what they stand for, those.
Well, it is including the confirmation name. So it's Michael Anthony Robert Zito. It's
nice.
Very Italian, very Catholic.
Very nice.
Very St. Louis. So it's recorded in my studio, but my studio is, it's modern, but it's very old school, really. It's the kind of music that I like. I don't know about you, but the records I like to listen to, they're live.
Tracked live, right?
Live.
Musicians in the same room, looking at playing as if they were
playing music together. That's something that I went from early on playing with these drum machines or writing these demos, is I could never get it to react. I can't get the drum beat on the drum machine to react. And so when I go play with the drummer, It's like, oh, so I need to use this drummer. We started 4-tracking with the drum set, you know. I learned that the albums I like, the music I like, it's been recorded live. You know, I hear somebody going for something and there's a flub and I think, oh, it's great, you know. They didn't go back and redo it over and over again and make it perfect. It was tracked live, and that energy is on the recording. So that's what my studio has been set up for. That's the production work I do. So when we did First Class Life, it's a bass player and drummer. It's Terry Dry on bass and Matt Johnson on drums and Louis Stevens on piano and organ, and we're all in the same room. And it's not a big room. It's the size of maybe a double bedroom. You know, we're in this room. The drums are set up. Guys are sitting down. I've got my guitar, and we're all looking at each other. I'm in a vocal booth because I'm also trying to sing live. But I got a window, and we're playing. You know, I'm showing them the song. They're listening. I want them to be a part of it. I'm not dictating, hey, don't do that, play this, only this, you know, like I want them to be inspired also. I want their creative part into the music. So we're just playing live. And once we kind of, you know, we play it a little bit, we go, hey, that's pretty good. Let's roll. Press record. And we record all the tracks live. Maybe it goes great. Maybe we really stumble and we can't get through it. So we do it again. You know, it's usually record, maybe record a third time, you know, maybe a fourth time at the most. But we're trying to get it in the first 2-3 takes, and then that's it.
So let's explore that a little bit. You know, today it's more common that people are sending tracks to each other, and you got a bass player in California, and you know, a couple of guys in Nashville, and somebody down God knows where, you know, in the world. And you know, and the result is good. You know, it's
Sure.
not that it's a bad thing, but what, in your opinion, it makes a big difference when you're in the same room where you can? It's not only hear what the other guy's doing and what the the other members of the band are doing, but you know, you can see. You know, there's
Right.
that proximity. What? How does that help the end result?
Well, I wish there was a way I could describe it to you, as in like this musical, you know, terminology that it works in these ways of scales and notes and all. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with energy and something that happens when we're together. You know, I do that. I play on tracks. Someone will, kindly ask me to play a guitar on their album or sing on their album, and they'll send me the track, and I'll get the track. And, basically what I'm going to do there is I'm going to listen to the track, and everything's kind of cut and dry. We're working off of, everything's there. The rhythm is set. I mean, there's not a lot I can do to alter the rhythm, right? I'm just going to phrase around what's already done. But when we're playing live, and generally we don't use a click track if we don't have to. I mean, most likely the drummer is more than capable enough of, keeping good time.
Hopefully.
Why are we making a record with him if you can't?
Right.
If it's really bad?
Yeah.
But the one thing is that if it moves, we're all moving together. There's never a point where, if the band's working well together and things do move, if they say pick up because the song's kind of rocking, we're all going. We're all moving together and turning that corner together. Some of the greatest rock and roll songs and that we listen to, that it starts out here and by the end it's it's 10 beats faster. They've creeped up all the way through the tune. So there's just aspects of that take place that's really hard to recreate when you've tracked. And usually when you tracked, you're definitely working with some kind of a click track or set rhythm. So there's no room for sway. And I don't really mean that it has to be so drastic, but just movement. I mean, when we're in this human thing, things are not perfect. To me, perfection does not sound cool.
Right.
It sounds terrible. doesn't sound good to me. It doesn't feel natural.
So, but you're saying that when you're this energy, which is really hard to describe.
It's hard to describe, right.
Is this almost kind of subliminal or and very natural way that a group of musicians interact with each other.
Right.
And that's different when you're together in a room rather than swapping tracks around the country kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that there's just a collective energy when you get together, when everybody gets on the same page. There's an energy that takes place when everybody's not on the same page.
Right.
I mean, some great rock and roll has been recorded because two guys in the band didn't like each other.
Right.
And they played against each other, or they, you know what I mean? There's
tension.
There's
that
tension.
kind of tension.
And there's release.
So, for example, like, they say, music is a language.
It
right?
absolutely is.
And so there's a difference if you're talking to somebody live, like we are right now. We can
Right.
see each other. We can kind of read, our faces and our body,
Exactly.
expressions. Is there a similar thing that happens, when you're recording something live, where you're seeing there are visual cues, or
Yes.
there's a visual element to this kind of language and communication that you don't get if I sent you a track and said, put something on there.
Right. I think so. Look, to me, music is very spiritual, and it is absolutely a language. Not everyone applies all of these things. Everyone's take on how you perform are different. But just for me, from my own experience and what I enjoy, is we're talking right now. We're both somewhat grown, educated male adults. We've made it to this point of our life. I know words in the English language, and I know enough of what they mean, but I'm certainly not looking at you thinking about, well, what words do I use next to make this sentence sound best? I'm just speaking to you from my heart, from this live conversation that we're having. And sure, I may go back and watch this interview and think, oh, I wish I could have said this. I should have said that or whatever, but should have and could have and whatever. It doesn't really matter. This is what's happening. So
what's happening in the moment.
Right now.
It's like the, the jazz recordings
Exactly.
back in the day. They'd go into the studio.
You're capturing a moment,
a slice, right?
in time. That, to me, that's what a recording is. I mean, there's different aspects of recording and different things you can do, and there's different ways you can go about recording. Just my personal favorite is that we're in the moment. And so rather than, okay, I've thought of all the things I want to play, so I'm going to play this, I'm going to play this, I'm going to play this. When I get a recorded track, that's kind of what I have to do. I will let it run, and then I'll play what I feel. But I've kind of already heard it. It's been done. So immediately I have thoughts that come to my head of, oh, okay, well, this is what I'll do. Because this is what it is. Rather than we're kind of playing live and the drummer does something or the bass player does a move. And when they do, if I'm listening and I hear it or I feel it, it's going to influence something about my approach rhythmically, or where I put my finger. And maybe sometimes I don't like it. If I have too much of a preconceived notion of what I want to do, and you do something, oh, why are you doing that? But if I'm open to it, I just play along with you. You need room for magic. I think that's the whole point. So I try to leave a little room for magic. We have an outline. It's like the Allman Brothers. To me, that's the greatest jam band. Even though maybe I don't know if you call them a jam band, but they jammed. But there's an outline. They're a jazz group. You have a piece of music. This is how it goes. We kind of know how it begins. We have an ending. We know where the head is and parts. And then there's going to be some spots in here where, I don't know. We'll see what happens. That sounds exciting. That one thing I remember hearing in an interview years ago about Frank Zappa and his guitar playing that I'm so excited about was that he did not rehearse any guitar solos. Specifically, if we're talking about guitar, when he played lead, he knew that he had this amount of time, this window. He had this space to create, and he had to get in and do something and be a part of the music and get out in this particular thing, but he didn't know what it would be. He'd just wait till he got there. I think what's great about that is that intrinsically, I'm going to use the catalog that I have of licks and things that I know how to do, but I still leave some room for interpretation. I know it sounds a little ethereal, but to me, that's the part of that's fun about playing music.
You used the word magic, and I would definitely describe this new album as just that. It's really magical. It feels real.
Thank you.
It sounds great. I'm going to pass this to you so you can show it on camera.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Hang on. Let's give him a quick look at that.
Oh, my. Look at that handsome devil holding that beautiful
First Class Life.
Les Paul. It's a first class life, which means, it was like an old saying, like you got a second chance.
Yeah.
Look at you. You got a second chance at a first class life.
Yeah. So pick that up. If you dig the blues, if you dig blues rock, if you just want to support the cause, whatever style of music.
I have 5 children, and I assume you're responsible for them. So.
There you go. All right, listen, let's do some playing.
Cool.
Okay?
Yep.
This is a personal request.
Okay.
I'm going to roll from your first TrueFire course, which Blues Americana.
Yeah.
Killer course. I remember Tommy and I, kept looking at each other.
That was our first one.
The money, It's just extraordinary material in there. I've been working with that course ever since, picking out little, gold nuggets, a lick here, a lick there, a rhythm move. One of the licks that I've been working with, what's it been, 4 years or 5 years?
Yeah.
It'll probably take me another 5 years to even get close. Is that little roll thing you do on the lesson is classic rock and roll.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a roll lick in there. I'm just throwing this out at you. So I hope you remember what I'm talking about.
I do remember what you're talking about. I play live, and so I don't have a lot of licks, but I remember.
This is a signature one, man. And so, Tommy, can we roll that track?
Yeah.
Just, jam over it a little bit, but play that lick.
Yeah.
And then teach
Let me shake it
us,
off here a little.
Teach it to us really slow.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right. You ready for the track?
Okay.
All right.
All right. So I was doing. The first thing I'm going to do here is going to play the lick is kind of a triplet rhythm, which is so there's a couple things going on there. You're doing some work with the time, where you're kind of playing, which I learned off of Robin Ford records 25 years ago, or Chris Kane, where you're playing straight in the rhythm with the song, and then kind of dividing time or cutting time, like a jazz thing. So that's what's working on this track here. But if you want me to show you the lick slower, I'll need to kind of
really, really slow.
So, I'm self-taught more or less. Just kind of learned everything I could working at a guitar shop for a long time in St. Louis. And my first guitar teacher, Richard Fortis of Guns N' Roses, he would play, and he does play, with a pick in his fingers. And I was never very good at, I was like every guitar player, especially coming up in the 70s and 80s, I want to play fast. And I couldn't do it. I'm not good at the picking. I can do it, but I just never could go quickly. And of course, I always want to play fast. So I watched him play, and he would do like down with his pick, up with the finger, rather than alternating with the pick, which was my downfall. I just didn't ever seem to have the wrist action. So I started to work on that down, pick, up, finger, down, pick, up, finger. And it's alternate picking. I'm just using two. It's not always as quick as the pick, but it's got a really cool sound to it, feel to it. And then I started to use the rest of my fingers in my right hand for picking.
So can we, because the right hand I know is really kind of key here. Can you go full screen on the right hand, Adam?
Oh yeah, show that. Look at that. Look at that
do
beauty.
And do me a favor, turn your headstock, bring your headstock towards me a little bit so we can really
How's
get
that?
up. That's perfect. Okay, really slow.
Okay, so the initial technique here is alternate picking using your index, your middle finger. We'll call it that one. How's that? So I'm going down with the pick, back with the finger. Now it's imperative, if you're going to play this lick, that you use that technique. It's not going to work like this.
So is that, it's a little like chicken picking, isn't
Right.
it? Like a twangy thing?
So learning this from Rich Fortis and watching him, and then suddenly Hot Licks videos became available in the late 80s, early 90s, and I got my hands on Albert Lee. And I watched him, and I watched Danny Gatton, and these guys were kind of more in, into country playing and chicken picking playing, and that was their way, and that really turned me on to country music, and I got into, Jerry Reed and Merle Travis, and just all that kind of style in my early 20s, trying to learn that because it was something I could do, and they were really fast, super fast. But there was this different technique, and they were using their fingers in with the pick. And then I started to use this finger. So just in the midst of trying to learn all that, and again, being highly uneducated and just teaching myself, I just started to find licks, like that I had of my own.
So this lick is picked with just the pick and that one
and
finger.
this finger.
That's it.
And what it is that you can't do with just the pick is that there's this roll between the two hands. So there are so many variations that I do with my left hand because I'm not really thinking about it. It's kind of a just rhythmic thing that I can do with my right hand. So let's just say I'm going to go real nice and easy. So this track from the chorus is in B flat. I'm on the G string. I'm using the G string and the D string. So for all intents and purposes, here's the notes I'm playing. I'm playing on the 6th fret of the G string. And I'm going to the 8th fret of the D string. Then back to the G string. Now with the pick, it's not going to have the same rhythm. So when I get my finger going on the picking here, you just start to get this roll going. Mm-hmm. It's this incessant roll that doesn't stop. So the one on the course there is really funky because I'm going.
Nice. And Mike, what for me anyway makes that lick really work is how you get into it. You know, like what you play just before it, and then what you play just after it, kind of really emphasizes that particular
right.
part.
If you're going to make this work musically, because it's not necessarily musical. This is a kid sitting in a music store 10 hours a day with a guitar in his hand, selling strings,
doing that,
trying to make his hands work. And, then somebody comes in, they want you to, hey, can I hear what this amp sounds like? It's my music store lick. So, yeah, no problem. I want to do something fast and showy. Yeah. And that's about all I got. But what I found is there is a thing, depending on the rhythm of the song and getting into it, you can use this to really turn a corner and add some serious flair.
It's very spicy, I guess would be.
If it was what you were doing, if it was like, here's my song, it's not, it's kind of annoying, But
so let's do this. We're going to roll the track again.
Okay.
I hope everyone who's out there listening knows, live anyway, this will be on demand, so you'll be able to come back to this later and watch it in TrueFire's channel. But also, the lesson is called Classic Rock and Roll. It's on Mike's first TrueFire course, Blues Americana. We've tabbed that out. The tab can only get you so far. I think you just got us the rest of the way. All we need is, 10 years of working in a guitar store, practicing that. But let us roll the track, play a little bit more, and...
Yeah, I'll just kind of go between the rhythms of like kind of straight. That's what the classic rock and roll is supposed to mean. Is it's supposed to mean like 50s rock and roll where really the drum beat's not necessarily like it's straight or it's kind of swingy.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll do. I'll play like kind of straight licks, and then I'll do these kind of triplet.
Okay, cool.
And I'll throw it in there.
Roll that track. Awesome. Thank you, man. And thank all of you out there listening for indulging me. That was kind of a personal request right there. I hope you dug it as well.
I'm just excited. It was the first thing we did, the hardest thing I didn't practice. So thanks.
I know. Sorry for throwing that out at you like that. Okay, listen, we're going to move on and talk about the courses we did here.
Yeah.
But also, if you've got questions, we've got a live chat thing happening. Post your questions for Mike. And
PG, rated PG, please. I don't work blue. I'm sorry.
And we'll try to get all your questions in. Let's talk about, you're doing 2 courses here this week. One of them is, they're both our new formats.
Yeah, very cool.
We're doing a Take 5 on Swamp Blues, and we're doing Trading Solos. Tell us a little bit about the format of Trading Solos. You seem to dig that a lot, right?
Yeah, wow, really, really cool. I always wonder, I have lots of ideas and things, but when I think, what are we doing at TrueFire? What will we do next? It's always kind of trying to wrap your head around something. And of course, one of the great things here, you have a lot of creative minds, Tommy, that are working on great courses. And this is, I think, really cool, very hip. I'm excited to roll this one out and to check out some of the other artists you may be working with. And what it is it's the idea that we're going to work on some blues rock. In my course, we're going to work on some blues rock. I've got some great backing tracks, not just the shuffles, but some different kind of rock beats, funky beats, things like that. But basically, I'll play rhythm. We'll roll the track. I'll play some rhythm and show you kind of like, this is what I would play over this, kind of some different rhythm ideas. like 3 different comping things that I would do. And then we'll play some lead. I'll play some licks and some lead, and show you some licks that I would play over the rhythm. And then we'll basically take turns. We'll roll the course, and I'll play rhythm and you'll play lead, and then you'll play lead, and we'll both play lead to the same rhythm track, and you can work on the rhythm while I'm playing lead. I mean, it would go on. You could continually
trading solos like you would on a jam stage, or in a live performance where you have another guitarist, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's very listen. I mean, this is very. Speaking of live, this is live. I mean, we're recording me, playing leads live, and I'm not a sit down and write it out kind of guy. So they're loose. And it'll give room for improvisation for us to kind of go back and forth. Yeah.
Cool. So let's roll the track where you lay down the rhythm.
Okay.
What track you want to work with?
Let's Tommy, roll grooving in G, a kind of Jeff Beck thing, and I'll comp over that.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Something like that.
So you lay down a rhythm track.
Right.
Then there's a series of lessons where you're showing them some of the moves that you're
going. And I'm just kind of, there's usually like a good foundation rhythm part. This is the way I was kind of approaching it. Something really simple and in the pocket, and then maybe like a secondary part where there's a little more movement or comping, and maybe there's a third part where it's even more, kind of involved.
Okay. And then we take the rhythm track that you recorded live here in the studio, and then you'll solo over it, right?
Right.
So let's roll that track and trade solos with the audience right now. The student would solo over this chorus.
Exactly.
And then when we come back around, you'll take another solo. And we're tabbing all of your parts, of course, so we can steal every
I'm glad somebody
possible.
Is.
Right?
Yeah.
And how many times will you go around? You'll do what? 3 solos?
I do like 3 solos, and then we'll pick like a cool lick in each solo that I'll go back and we'll break down.
Nice.
Like, hey, so I thought this was cool in there, because I'm just kind of playing loose, but maybe I found a little motif or something that's a great something to build off your solo. So I'll kind of break that down so you can learn that particular lick or thing that I'm going for. But like you said, the rest of all the solo is tabbed out, all the other licks and noodling and things that I'm doing. So it's really cool. You get, we break down the rhythm ideas.
So you get rhythm parts, right? So you're really getting kind of a rhythm course, a comping course. You're getting a lick vocabulary.
Right.
And then, more importantly, you're learning how to take those licks and construct solos out of them.
Yes.
And the icing on the cake, I think, is just being able to come home after a hard day's work, sit down, roll a track, and trade solos with Mike Zito.
Yeah, it's very
Zito,
cool.
Sorry, Zito.
Hey.
It's the Italian thing.
It's all right.
It's
as long as it ended in O, I'm fine. No, it's very cool. You're right. I mean, the best part of this course is that you can continually revisit it and go back and play with the tracks and take turns trading with me and just play along and be involved. And hopefully, like you say, at the end, you've learned to build some solos, to improvise, to work with these rhythms, And
let's show. Call out another track from
let's
the course.
do. Tommy, run it's in your face. I think it's in C. Can I ask you to turn it up just a little for me? Thanks.
So start with the rhythm part, if you would.
Okay. Let's see what's going on. This one's kind of funky. There it is. Yeah, I like that track. That's a fun one, yeah.
Nice. Now you'll show them some of those moves, teach them some of the stuff you're doing there, and then we'll work with that rhythm track that you just laid down and trade solos over it. So can you show us a little bit of that?
Sure, yeah.
We'll roll that.
Like that.
The student would be soloing. So you're trading solos.
So I'd play through it like that, and and I'm playing. We're doing it like that. It's going to be loose, and I'm going to play through some licks, and then it would be open, and the rhythm track would still go, and then the student, you'd get to play along. You take the next round, and you go around 12, and you play the lead, and the rhythm track I played is there, and then we kind of go back and forth. So what's cool is. You can sit and just work on rhythm if you want. You can play along with the rhythms. You can comp the rhythm while I'm playing lead. You can then trade the solos with me. And so we really just like we were in a band, we're just going to take turns. You go, I'll go. You go, I'll go, It's what's great, I think, is that the course will... sometimes you get into something and you work on a course a long time and maybe you revisit it. I usually revisit, I go back and look at a Robin Ford or the Larry Carlton and what did he do again, But this one is so interactive, this new format, that you just continually, when you're in the mood for this groove or that lesson again, or you think you've got a new idea, you can go back and just keep playing along and interacting. It's very thumbs up.
Thanks,
on the trade and solos. Man.
Well,
That's
we
cool.
have to give a lot of credit to Tommy Jammin, who took the basic concept and really tweaked it out. Tommy, look at the camera, man. Take your props. There he is.
Oh, isn't that nice?
All right, so let's move on to Take 5, Swamp Blues.
Sure.
Now, Take 5 is a format, trading solos. I don't think we've published a trading solos course yet.
No, not just yet.
But we have published a couple of Take 5s, and Take 5 is, usually focused on a style or technique. And there's a primer, could be 15 or 20-minute primer or tutorial on that style or technique. And then there are 5 performance studies progressing from kind of basic to advanced. The thing's really designed to get you up and running quickly in that particular style or technique. Yeah. So we're excited about this Swamp Blues version of Take 5. We haven't done a Swamp Blues thing here, and you're the perfect cat to bring that to the table.
It's another.
What describes what is Swamp Blues?
Well, let me just say first, I agree that this Take 5 is another great format. Again, thinking of the courses we've done in the past with Blues Americana, that was a huge undertaking. It was going to be, okay, we're going to go through all of your style. And then I think, well, what are we going to do now? Well, you go, hey, let's do a course on swamp blues. Well, I mean, we could do a whole full, you could do a catalog of courses on swamp blues. But the Take 5 format, what's really cool is, like you said, let's get you up and running. We want to jump into a style, let you learn some of the cool techniques, some of the feels, the licks of this style. And in a short period of time, plus there's levels. You're kind of coming in at maybe even kind of beginner, getting started, but you still want to be able to play. I want to play a swamp blues. I'm not really playing lead guitar yet. We've got something there, all the way to the end where it's more involved. So that is what's awesome about the format to me for teaching and for the student is that, like you said, it's very concise, really fun. Swamp blues. Listen, I'm not an authority on any of these things, but I know I've done my studying, and it's a break off of Louisiana blues. It's different than Chicago blues. It's very laid back. You're talking about Slim Harpo, songs like "Scratch My Back" and "Shake Your Hips," which the Rolling Stones did. A lot of really famous songs come from classic blues songs, and swamp blues is no different. You're also talking about modern, like my partner Tab Benoit is a very famous modern swamp. I would consider him a swamp blues artist. The style of the music is not always, maybe it's in a 1-4-5 of blues, but it's not always a shuffle or anything. There's different drum beats, kind of dance beats. The music's laid back. And then there's this great use of chords and effects. They use a lot of tremolo, a lot of reverb, a lot of chording, things like that get used that make it really cool. They kind of set it apart from just straight like lead guitar playing bar blues, what I call it. Swamp blues, a lot more like dance and swamp pop, which is what, they kind of still do on the Gulf Coast, like 50s rock and roll and blues kind of all mixed up. So you might play blues changes, but they'll play like a dance beat.
Let's show them a couple excerpts from
let's do the Slim Harpo, the Scratch My Back. I think it's called Scratch It Baby is the track, but I heard this originally on Thunderbird's record, and it goes like this. All right. For an advanced guitar player, it might seem really simple, but it's...
But it's more about the feeling, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And look, if you're an advanced guitar player, but you're into blues,
yeah.
I mean, this is you're still playing this. I mean, this is a dance floor guaranteed to make people, get out and dance. So it's more about vibe and letting the tremolo ring. But we break it down. If you don't know, I show you the picking pattern, the little hammer on, the E7 chord, the bar chords. But also in the course I talk about using tremolo and reverb as kind of the vibe that captures, you can play these same chords and licks without it, but when you use it with it, it really, that's part of swamp blues. I mean, it's really a part of the vibe and the sound. Some of the guitar parts are real like, atmospheric. You're letting the drums and the bass play and the chords are ringing out. Very cool. The great Lazy Lester, God rest his soul, he just passed away, one of the all-time greats of swamp blues. He was something. So there's a plethora of great tunes to go check out.
Well, how about let's You did one hip shake. Hip shake.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Let's show them that.
Okay. This is, again, kind of a Slim Harpo thing in A. Might sound like ZZ Top. Might sound like Rolling Stones, and that's because they all lifted it.
They stole it.
That's right. Go ahead, Tommy. Yeah. We can do that all day.
Nice. So, this Take 5, would you consider this a great course for someone who's interested in kind of learning, the fundamentals of, swamp blues?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what's really cool about it is, like I said, I mean, you could go into this genre or any of the genres you're going to do this Take 5 format on. You could take them and go long form and really go down a road. But what's fun about this, I don't know about you, but me, I hear something on the radio. I'm like, oh, man, I got to learn that. I need to learn that lick. How come I don't know any of that style? Or I need to learn that whatever. I kind of want to get in and find something and throw a new riff into my tool bag. And, want to go take it and go use it. Mm-hmm. Take 5 is really cool because, again, we have five different lessons, starting with, very simple. But again, when I say simple, I want to encourage that if you don't know how to, if you're just beginning and you're getting going, you're not a lead player, but you like the sound of these songs, we have a lesson or two for you. And then we can build up from there. And then towards the end, we're doing these accordion-style, finger-picking chord melody licks, that are like Sonny Landreth and Tab Benoit, and, where they're playing 2-3 parts at once. So we have some, very advanced things, and we have some beginner things. But don't let that scare you away because it's all swamp blues. I mean, these are the very simple things are some of the most famous swamp blues licks and songs that have ever taken place.
Not only that, I mean, even an advanced player, can take those simple grooves, call them out at a jam,
absolutely,
and have something a little fresh, instead of the old Chicago shuffle
exactly.
or the boogie or whatever, something that the other player's going to like
right.
to play and the audience is going to dig hearing.
Hey, if you're, you could be a guy that is, really into jazz fusion, that knows all of his modes and can play all this stuff, and you've just never played any swamp blues before, and so this will give you the idea, like, oh, okay, so I should go listen to this guy. I should check out this artist. You'll notice the rhythms are different than just normal blues.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not just a Chicago shuffle. It's a boogie or it's a straight dance beat. And then that makes it cool to play the licks over because you're going to get different phrasing, different feels. And ultimately, again, hopefully add that to your bag. And like you said, be able to break it out. Go, hey, man, let's try this other. Now, blow over that.
It's the stuff that keeps you up on that jam bandstand.
Yeah, man, keeping it
two
fresh.
or three songs longer than the other guy. I love that.
Absolutely, I agree, yeah.
We're starting to run out of time. Oh. And we're going to run a little over because we have to talk about gear, and I have a few questions for you. So
okay.
Let me fire some questions from our
young,
listening audience.
And I needed the money.
What pick are you using?
Oh, man. Listen, I'm such a nerd. I have this big bowl. I have this big Fender bowl that I got when I worked at the music store. It's like this 40th anniversary tin. It's this big. and it's like this deep, and there are picks. It's completely full, and if you put it on the table, the picks go like this. There's a mound. There must be 3,000 guitar picks. I'm not even joking in this thing, because I'm like everybody else going, oh, maybe that's the guitar pick that makes me a better guitar player. Maybe I should lose a little pick. Maybe I should use a big pick. I do enjoy trying picks. I generally bring one pick that I've continually kind of used over the past 10 or 20 years. Is a blue Dunlop Tortex.
Can we get close on that somehow?
Pick. It's just regular old. You know, I started out using like a Fender.
Hold it out in front of you, man.
Very common.
What gauge is that? Medium?
Is what I would standard heavy. It's a 1.0 millimeter.
So it's kind of a heavy pick.
Yeah, it's not super heavy. You know, I would use like a Fender heavy.
Yeah.
When I was younger, and they would always chip on the side and get caught on the string, and then they came out with Tortex, which doesn't do that. In fact, it wears out real smooth and gets smoother as you keep using it. So a lot of times, like this one here is the same one I've been using all week because it kind of gets better and more broken in. That's my go-to guitar pick, and it's a great question. I always wonder, what kind of guitar pick is that guy playing? Like, he sounds so good. You know, what pick is that? I want.
You know, it's a very important piece of gear, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's. I've tried using little jazz picks, and it works great sometimes to use my fingers. But again, I'm just not so good with the pick. My technique of the pick is, so I need something to hold on to. And what I've noticed is that when I switch guitar picks, whenever I go back and play with this guitar pick, I feel very confident.
Awesome. Good answer, man. Another question from the audience. Give beginners one essential practice tip.
Well, the best thing you could do is to teach yourself some sort of, and when I say teach yourself, you know, you're probably going to have to find it, but any good athlete exercises. They stretch before they go practice for the game. Before they go out and they run their plays, they're running the field, right? They get out, they run, they're stretching their muscles. I learned early on that to practice. Practice. Let me just see if I get this right. I want to make sure I get this right. I try to once a week put a song on and learn a new lick, or get a chord book and try to find a chord I don't know. So maybe we'll call that practice. But I also, every day, I warm up. Every day, if I'm on tour, I spend 10 or 15 minutes, it's usually in the morning, just holding my guitar and I warm up. And over 40 years of holding a guitar, I've put together a bunch of warm-ups, and I learned to do it.
Show us one.
You know, this is the most simple thing you can do, okay? Let me turn the tremolo off. So I'm just putting a finger on a fret, and I'm starting on the first fret. And I'm alternate picking, okay? And I'm not necessarily doing this fast. And when I come back, I go backwards.
Did you go up? You're going up a fret when you go down, and up a fret when you come back.
And I work my way up to the 12th fret, or the 15th fret, however much time I have.
Yep.
And I work my way back down. But most importantly for me, I do it with the metronome. I learned to do that when I was young, to work with a metronome. If I work with the metronome too much, my playing's very stiff. So I don't do that all day long. I do not sit with the metronome and practice all day long. But I have this warm-up thing that if I ran through the whole thing of the little exercises I've put together, it might take me 10 or 15 minutes. And I do it with the metronome. Because learning to work with the metronome early on really brought my timing together. And that would be for any beginner, even if you're just strumming, try to do it and try to strum. Right? Find a pattern, something simple, and do those changes because that it's important. And it's one of the things I notice when I play with guys, or maybe they're taking a lesson and they want to know about feel and rhythm and that. You still have to start somewhere, right? I mean, we got to learn our chords. We got to learn, some basic scales and stuff before we start getting all loose and free. And the same thing with time and rhythm. I had to learn to work with the metronome, and I still do for a few minutes every day just to warm up. Then when we get to playing, there is no metronome. And again, if I have the metronome going tit, 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 and I do all this intricate stuff, I don't like that. That's not me. I don't want to get up and go and play real stiff to the beats. So I just have it really slow, like 80 beats per minute, and I just playing.
Great tip, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Another couple of questions. Is there a music book that kickstarted your playing?
Well, Mel Bay Guitar Volume 1 is a great book.
It's a great book, isn't it?
They wrote that book in St. Louis, Missouri, where I'm from, and I have had many copies. I probably have one at home still. That was a great book that I tried to work out of.
It's almost like a rite of passage,
Yeah.
No matter what style you play, you go back. I mean,
Exactly.
That book kickstarted a lot of guitarists.
When I was 8 years old, I'm sure there were other books, but growing up in St. Louis and getting a guitar at 8, that was the book. That was the book that was at the music store when someone walked in and said, "Hey, my kids learned to play guitar. Here, buy this." The Blue Book, Volume 1, Now, I can tell you the Mickey Baker guitar book, 15 years ago.
Oh yeah,
It was another. I think I actually learned that from one of the old Robin Ford courses.
Oh yeah,
where he talked about getting the Mickey Baker.
He says everything he learned or knows about chords is rooted to that book.
Right. So when that was a book. Once I had been playing guitar for 20 years, and I, was like, I need to learn more. I need to work on more. And I would watch these videos where I heard about the Mickey Baker book. I got that book, and I still work out of Volume 1 and Volume 2. It's a great book.
What is your favorite kind of coffee in the morning? Just came in. Hot question.
Very important. Very important. I love dark roast coffee. I'm somewhat spoiled, so I like really cool coffee house coffee because we travel. That's one thing I do. If I get some cool coffee, dark roast along the way, single origin kind of stuff. I don't do drugs or drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes. I'm really boring, so coffee is my thing. But Starbucks, French roast is pretty hard to beat.
What do you think of TrueFire's homemade cold brew apparatus and
TrueFire is really, if you guys, this is I would move in here. This is just, we're nerding out all day on guitar and getting really jacked up on cold brew.
That's pretty good cold brew, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, we'll have to share. We're very close to being finished here, and once we are, we're going to do a proper video tour and show everybody everything. There's a question about how long it takes to make a course at TrueFire, and I'll answer that really quickly so we can move on to gear. You're in the studio for 2 days, and we're filming all of the video segments, but it usually takes a good 3 months or so of prep to create what we call the blueprint for the course. So an artist like yourself is prepared, knows what's going on,
Sure.
has, obviously rehearsed and worked out the things that they're going to say and demonstrate. So there's 3 months, I'd say, of solid preparation. There's a couple days to lay down the video elements of the software. And then there's a good 60 to 90 days of post-production work on the video, audio mastering, tabbing everything, engraving everything.
It's a process.
There's 60 different images and retina quality, and I mean it is a long and tedious process, but a labor of love for sure.
Well, and look, I know we're here together, but to pat you on the back, I mean, coming from a guitar, I mean, I found out about TrueFire, like everyone else that's watching found out about TrueFire. Someone told me about TrueFire because I'm into learning guitar. I grew up watching Hot Licks videos, and years ago, someone told me about TrueFire, and I got on and found it and was like, wow, this is incredible. Check this out. This is exactly what I've been looking for. And then I start to find all the content and the way it's laid out and the format, and this was years ago, which is really how we got to working together.
That's right.
I was a student and still am. I go on frequently when I'm on tour.
You do. Yeah, in fact,
I'm on looking for licks and ideas. I mean, because it's fun. I like to play guitar. But there's definitely a process that we go through. I remember doing the first course. I was overwhelmed with a little bit of anxiety. Like, oh my God, how will we do this? I have no idea. I'm nervous. And then, I meet everybody at TrueFire. They start to show me the format and the plan. And you made it much easier for me to gather my thoughts and to put everything together. But it's very cool the way that it's put in the end. I mean, it's not wonderful like that by happen chance. There's quite a process that is involved.
And we've been doing this now 25 years.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And it keeps getting better. Sincerely.
Hopefully
these new courses are great new ways to keep things fresh and interactive. And for me, the instructor, again, this is really cool. Okay, a new way for us to kind of jump into a style or playing guitar. It's great.
Thank you for those kind words.
Absolutely.
One more quick question, and then I want you to show everybody the gear, which blew our minds here this week. The question is, your picking technique that you showed earlier. Do you recommend somebody, just working with a pick first and then learning how to do that, or learning how to do that right out of the box while learning how to just use a pick? Is it a graduated process, or should they just jump in and do it?
I don't know that there's any right or wrong with any technique. I know, I'm just thinking of my own experience when I was younger. I wanted to learn to do the most difficult thing right up front. I mean, the first time that I heard electric guitar, this is absolutely true, or that I actually heard lead electric guitar, was 8 years old, and it was Eruption by Van Halen. Up till then I heard big band records that my dad played and maybe some Jackson 5, but the guitar hadn't really stuck out to me yet, and I was at a friend's house, and I heard, and I had no idea what instrument it was, what is that? And my first thought was, I need a guitar. I need to know how to do that. Well, it's not very productive. I got the guitar, and that's all I thought about was, how do I learn to do this two-hand tapping technique that this amazing guitar player, I didn't bother to think maybe I should learn to play the chords or the...
Right. So you're saying, what? Dive in.
Dive in. Sure. There's do both. Listen, there's an aspect of fun. That little nugget is what got me excited about the guitar to begin with. It's what made me ask for a guitar. That was a great year, 1978. I got a guitar and I got Van Halen record. So that's what lit the fire, for sure. But, along the way, I had to learn to play guitar. So I would always encourage someone to, you're going to get frustrated really easily when you jump into difficult techniques and you're a beginner. And the last thing you want to do is get turned off. You go, well, then never mind. I've got kids and they pick up they want to do whatever it is. They want to make 3-point swishes at basketball from the mid-court immediately. And then they can't and they go, oh, I'm not good at basketball. Never mind. Like, well, hold on. Let's just, look, we can do that. And maybe every once in a while we'll hit one. But if you really want to do it, we need to learn also. So I would suggest having fun and jumping right in. Try to learn whatever you can. Maybe it'll just take off. And if you get flustered or frustrated, then start with just the pick. I think when you're building technique, the things that come natural are going to be easy. If you pick the guitar up and you start playing with your fingers and it just seems natural,
go for it.
I think that's what you're going to do. That's how you'll play guitar. Just go for it. Playing with a pick in my fingers was the first time, and it didn't happen until, I was maybe 18 years old or something, where I was like, oh, that feels natural. It never occurred to me. When I was a kid, I might have just went, whatever. I didn't know what I was doing. And then when someone said, no, you have to use this pick. This is how you play. It's like, and then I started to do this, and everything just started to fall in line, and that's just the way I play now. So that's what you're looking for, hopefully, is your own style. So try it out. If picking is difficult, try using your fingers and the pick. Try using just your fingers and your thumb. I don't think I don't have any rules about any of it. I know great guitar players that use that end of the guitar pick, which is weird to me. And they sound great. So, go for it. Go for it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's wrap up with gear.
Okay.
Start with the guitar. Take us all the way through amplification and effects.
Well, this particular guitar here, I'm fortunate enough to own a few guitars. But I thought for the Swamp Blues one, I wanted to have, for this course, I wanted to bring a guitar with a tremolo. This is an Ernie Ball Music Man guitar, and it is their kind of reissue of the original Stingray Music Man from the 70s. So I'm not really a vintage guy. I usually play a Telecaster made by Delaney, which I love. But I wanted a tremolo, and it's kind of retro looking, and I thought it'd be cool for Swamp Blues. But I love, I've had several Music Man Ernie Ball guitars over the years. So this is the Stingray. What I know about it is it's got kind of a vintage neck it's not a big neck at all. It has locking tuners, so it has some modern appointments. They took the original vintage model, and they made it a little bit modern. So the tremolo, the vibrato is really cool. It's not floating, but it's loose enough that I can do some some things like that. It's got humbuckers, of course, in it. From what I understand, they're Music Man, Ernie Ball. They make their own humbuckers. They're like an Alnico style pickup, so it's like a vintage humbucker. They're not hot. These are not overwound. This is not you could certainly rock out on this guitar, but it's
somebody asked about neck size.
Right.
Is it better for someone with small hands or beginners to work with a smaller neck?
Yeah, again, I don't have any idea.
It's what feels comfortable, right?
I found with my weird hand that I started to play Telecasters when I was young, and the older Telecasters had this big neck, and I have a big palm, I don't know, and it felt really good. So most of my life I've had kind of a bigger neck in my hand, like it felt solid. I generally played bolt-on guitars. I didn't really get into Les Pauls till later because I couldn't afford them. I played cheaper guitars, played Peavey guitars and Fender Strats and Tellys. So they usually had kind of a bigger neck. I've never personally liked the super ultra thin neck. But recently I've started to play some smaller necks. This is, I would think, right in the middle. This neck is not, it's not super big. It's not ultra thin like a modern metal guitar. It's kind of just a regular Fender neck. To me, it's very comfortable. I think getting started, I would not go to any extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, if you pick something up and it just feels good to you, then there you go.
Yeah.
Try it out.
We all hear that all the time. People who want to learn how to play guitar just learn, oh, my hands are too small, my fingers are too short.
Sure.
And then you show them a video on YouTube of a 6-year-old playing, a classical guitar with a big, thick, wide neck. It's not so much about that, right? It's what you're saying. Just pick up something and get comfortable with it, right?
Right. Get comfortable and get started. Everyone has a different experience playing guitar, and I tell people that all the time. They'll, oh man, I like your guitar playing. Oh, that's great, thanks. Oh, I play guitar good. I can't play like you. And I think, well, I can't play like Robin Ford or Joe Bonamassa either, but that doesn't stop me from playing guitar.
Right.
And listen, if I wasn't fortunate enough to play guitar for a living, I'm still playing guitar.
Right.
Because when I worked at the guitar shop, or if I had a day gig, which I've had, I went home and played guitar. So there's always a time when you're starting where it's going to be uncomfortable because it's new. But if you enjoy it, that passes.
Right.
That passes. You're going to get on past that. And if you stay with it at whatever level, you're going to go and play other guitars.
And it'll come.
It'll come to you. You'll find like, oh, wow, I didn't know this neck feels really good to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the sound of this. That's part of the enjoyment. It's like playing golf or, hey, this club, oh, I had no idea this lighter club feels good.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
For anyone who's ever, is not a golf player but tried to swing a golf club, that's a pretty awkward feeling thing to do, just to grip that darn thing,
Yeah.
Okay, amplification.
Sure. So we have the Ernie Ball, we have the Music Man, everything is stock. That's what I use for the 2 new courses.
What are the strings, gauge ones?
10 gauge, Ernie Ball, Slinkies.
Okay. Cool.
It's just regular stuff. So that's it. Of course, here in TrueFire, they have a plethora of amps. What we decided, I tour all over the world. And for years, I brought a pedal board. I have a pedal board with me with some sort of overdrive pedal. I have a great overdrive pedal that Cass Engineering makes for me that I do really like a lot. And I would bring a pedal board, and then they have amps, and then I play through whatever amp they have. But, the amps, if the amp is in Italy and someone hasn't serviced it for 30 years and it sounds terrible, doesn't really matter what guitar or pedal I brought, doesn't sound very good. That's been the struggle of a guy like me, where you're touring and traveling and you're kind of using backline and everyone's trying to keep a consistent tone. So what I brought with me this week is I brought a Quilter guitar amplifier. Quilter.
We have it up on the screen. Point to it. I don't want them to be confused with the aux, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Well, we got a whole bunch of stuff going here. This is the amp I brought. It's a Quilter guitar amplifier, and it is kind of not just for travel. Of course, we're using it here. You could use it anywhere. I got interested in Quilter because I was seeing guys on the road that they were opening up their suitcase and pulling a guitar amp out, and then going out on the stage and plugging in their guitar amp and having this great sound. And I was like, wow, now that makes sense. If I had an amp I could bring every night, I could unplug the speakers on whatever amp they have here. As long as the speakers work, I could plug my amp in and I'd have my sound. And it would be consistent. And I could still use my pedal board.
How many watts is that Quilter?
This particular Quilter here is called the Overdrive 200. It's 200 watts. And I mean, it is 200 watts.
And do they make ones with less watts?
Oh, yeah. They make one all the way down to, they make a pedal board amp that's 45 watts. And it is literally a pedal.
Really?
And it just has some simple EQing features where you can make it scooped mid for a Fender sound or maybe more mid for a British sound. You can put it on your pedal board and run your pedal board right into it and plug it into a speaker.
Now, Now that says, what does it say on the right-hand side there? Distortion.
It says Overdrive 200.
Overdrive.
This particular model is based on a Dumble. It's supposed to be their Dumble amplifier, which is the D sound, that Dumble tone, which I can't afford. But what I like about this one is
how close do you think it comes to that Dumble sound?
I've never played through a real Dumble, so I got to be honest, I don't know. But it certainly sounds like the sounds that I've heard some of my favorite guitar players playing through over the years. And
So
I think,
with a light touch, you're getting kind of a clean sound.
Here's it's got a clean. I've got the gain up on the clean channel. I don't ever play like clean. I'm turning my volume on the guitar up and down.
Okay, so let's look at your settings.
Sure.
And when you say clean sound, it's just the guitar going through the quilter,
right,
going to the speaker cabinet of that Fender amp.
Right now we're running it direct, but yeah, I mean that's what we're doing.
Okay.
And I have a reverb. There's no reverb on the amp. I have a reverb. So you just have this clean channel, this simple EQ. I've got you could run this gain back a little, and it would get. That's the volume all the way up. I mean, it would be very clean. You can get, very, very, very sparkly clean. I like it where it's a little bluesy. Turn it up a little, and I can turn the guitar down and get that clean sound. But now I can turn it up and.
Nice.
I can get kind of a broken up. And it has that kind of low mid-range from the Dumble. What's great is everywhere I tour, I'm getting that sound. I mean, the speakers are going to make a little difference, but it's a huge difference between using a broken amp.
What's your preference speaker-wise? What cabinet would you go with if you could specify it?
I like a 212, like a 212 closed back cabinet. I have an old Fender Vibra King cabinet I've been using with this. It sounds great.
Do you have a preference for speakers in particular?
Well, I love the Celestion speakers, vintage 30s, but I mostly enjoy the Eminence speakers and the American sounding speakers. It just kind of depends, but really if I'm bringing my rig, it's going to have American sounding speakers, not British sounding speakers.
Got it.
Especially for this amp. Like, I think this amp sounds great through an American sounding speaker. And I have these Eminence wheelhouse speakers that are awesome. They're great, really high wattage. Neo speakers, so the cabinet's light because I'm old. This has 2 overdrive channels. So on the course, I'm using a lot of this. That sound. And it has a really rockin' overdrive that's like.
So the foot pedal will switch channels from kind of a clean to a dirty sound.
Right, yeah.
And then you can kick it into overdrive as well with the foot pedal, right?
With a simple little $20 foot pedal, you can go from clean to the semi overdrive channel to the really rockin' overdrive channel, and you can actually turn them both on, and then you get both like real
nice.
Super lead Eric Johnson.
And how much are those quilters?
Gosh, I think that amp lists for like $599.
So you told me earlier that what's cool about that is not only do you get your sound wherever you happen to be in the world, right? But if, God forbid, it gets stolen or damaged or broken, it's not a Dumble that you have to replace, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's, I have a lot of great amps, and I have my studio at home, and Dr. Z amps were the amps I always use when I'm at home recording or when I was on tour, if I'm driving and we're in our, tour bus and I have my gear. I love my tube amps. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I do. I love my Dr. Z amps, but I can't take the Dr. Z amp and put it in a suitcase and go to Europe. This is 9 pounds, 8 pounds.
It's beautiful. And the sound is phenomenal.
Sounds great.
We've been blown away. We've gone a half an hour over, but we have people that have stuck with us all the way through. So I guess we're not boring the heck out of them.
I'm with you.
I'd love for you and Tommy to take a few minutes and talk about the aux, which you seem to be pretty impressed with. And I know Tommy is. Tommy, can you take my seat and run down that aux?
Yes. So one of the things that we're using here in the studio is this aux box. Made by Universal Audio, and it's just it's basically a reactive load box that you can plug any amplifier, whether it's tube, solid state, you can plug it into the aux, and it basically replaces the speaker cabinet that you would have to run into. So if you're in a situation where you record at home, or you need to practice, late at night, you have family, kids are sleeping, whatever it is.
Right.
You can basically completely bypass going through a speaker cabinet at all, and kill the ambient sound, the loudness of cranking, a tube amplifier, your beloved amp, whatever it is.
Right.
And you get that same quality, that same tube quality, or solid state, whatever you're into.
All of the recording stuff for years, we tried to, they were trying to do like speaker simulation and direct recording. That's been going on for 20 something years. You want to, there's always trying to find how can we get the guitar direct? Yeah. Because once you get it direct, there's a different, there's a different feel to it. It's like right there. Yeah. You're not going through the mics and stuff. So not necessarily to me to replace miking amplifiers when you're recording an album. That's always going to be a beautiful thing. Sure. This is really different. It's not the same as an inexpensive little speaker simulator or direct box or anything like that. We're taking my amp that I brought. Right. We're running out of it like we would run into the speaker cabinet. We're plugging it into this. We're running the load, the power load into this. Then you're running this direct into the computer. Yeah. Then he brings the laptop over and we go, what cabinet would you like to play through? Right. And we looked through the cabinets and we found a Dumble, a D-style 212.
Yeah, and the thing that's amazing, Universal Audio does a great job with their plugins, their interfaces. Easy. I mean, they're a classic, legendary amps.
It's what we use. It's everything we use at my studio in Texas are the Universal Audio. You convinced me to purchase. I bought one yesterday. Yeah. Because we've been using this all week.
It's pretty killer, man.
And I had no idea we'd be, running direct like this, but sitting here in front of the monitors and playing. It is the feel of the guitar. Right.
You get all the character of your amp.
It's incredible.
You get the character out of your amp, no matter how much you like to push your amp.
Right.
And a lot of guys especially with tubes, tube amps, really drive them.
For me is like doing a session next week is I'm still going to mic the amp up. We're going to put a ribbon mic in front of the amp, but I'm going to run this direct also on the same track. Right. And then we're going to have this whole other thing, so I can run it through another cabinet.
You can mix it together.
I can mix it together. Yeah. For live, I assume like big touring acts live now are bringing this because you could put it right on your Marshall stack. Sure. And sure, it's mic'd, but then they're also running it just direct into the big sound system because the guitar is like right there now. Yeah. It feels good to play through. This is one
of the best ones.
This, and last but not least, I am using a Strymon Flint reverb and tremolo unit through the both courses. The tremolo is heavy on the Swamp course, and that's just it's a great piece of gear. So that's a very simple setup to me that we run this week, and this gear is totally affordable. You know, one more thing about watching a Robin Ford video when I was young that really inspired me was he was sitting in this room with all of these $50,000 amps and all of this great gear that he had. And he said, hey, you know, don't get caught up so much in the gear that, you know, you're not going to be a good enough player if you don't have this holy grail of an amp or a guitar or anything. And that's, you know, from when I started younger to where it is now, oh my gosh. You know, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a decent guitar.
No, you really don't.
And a good sound, but it is ultimately coming.
It is.
From
when
here.
Robin comes in, and Larry too, they both have dumbbells. They've both done sessions with their dumbbells, but you know, Robin, now when he comes in, he plays the super, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, whatever he plays,
sounds like
it's
him, man.
Robin, you know, and it sounds great, you know.
That's just like the neck and the strings and pickups and all those things that we talked about. Gear is fun.
It's part of the passion, you know.
It's part of the passion. It's really fun. The electric guitar can be manipulated in so many ways to create so many sounds. That's what's fun. And ultimately, the idea is, you know, first you're going to hear someone you like. I like that sound. You're going to find out what they're using. You might get that gear, play it and go, wow, it doesn't sound anything like.
It usually doesn't.
Like that guy.
Right.
Because you're not that guy.
Right.
But that's generally how it's going to start.
Yeah.
And eventually you just learn to,
you'll get
this
your
is
own
what
thing.
I sound
Yeah,
like.
exactly. You know, what's funny though is you bought an ox, you know.
Yeah.
And we'll probably buy a quilter. You know?
Oh, I would.
I love that thing.
I would get the quilter and the Strymon for
I
sure.
can guarantee you I'm going to get one, you know, if we don't get one for the studio. So
yeah, it's cool.
anyway, hey, would really like to thank everyone for hanging with us.
Yes, thank you.
Mike, thank you so much for carving out this time out of your session today. We're going to let you get back to that. It was a great segment. Learned a lot from you. Had a blast. How about we roll a track and you play us out?
I am more than happy to do so.
Call.
Track do you want?
What do you want to play?
I don't know.
Just throw.
Fever or,
Yeah. Go ahead. That
there
sounds
you
good.
Go.
Little,
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This will be available on demand on TrueFire's YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, guys.